Welcome inside the vault on a Monday. It is the 9th of February. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. Super Bowl 60 now in the rear view. And from a Ravens perspective, we're going to begin the show kind of talking through some lessons learned moving forward as the Jesse Minter era begins. And Sarah, his friend and former colleague, got it done last night. Mike Macdonald, 2 years at the helm, and he brings the Seattle Seahawks a world title, defeating the Patriots in pretty convincing fashion in San Francisco, 29-13. So we will begin there. After that, Mike Garafolo of NFL Network shut down some trade rumors, perhaps speculation across the internet in terms of Lamar Jackson's future. We'll get to that. Steve Young continued his support of Lamar at the national level. And we also kind of have to cycle through some coaching assistant moves that were made at the end of last week and over the weekend. So all that and more is what we have coming up. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support of the program. We have a brand new giveaway for the month of February. It is not a Fanatics gift card, but it is a gift card, and it is $100 to the Vault merch line. That's right, our merch store. We are giving out a $100 Vault gift card. Can you sell? I'm still on West Coast time here, but let's dive right in. It's great to see you. We're back off and running, and technically today is day one of off season. So to that, welcome in.
Welcome into everybody. I am this morning still feeling so happy for Mike Macdonald. Obviously, everybody in Baltimore is jealous right now of the Seahawks and what maybe could be happening in Baltimore right now. But we're going to talk about lessons that we can have going forward, not looking back at the past and what could have been, but what could happen going forward. But the Seahawks just absolutely dominated last night. Absolutely dominated. And yes, it was led by Mike Macdonald's defense, who got turnovers, who got scores, it felt like Drake May, who was like number 2 in the MVP race, he and this Patriots offense couldn't even really move the ball down the field until closer to the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter. So, I mean, it was just absolute suffocation for what they did. So to see Mike Macdonald at the end, when they had the cameras on him and he shakes Rabel's hands and he looks up as the confetti comes down, he's up on the podium. He said, I feel like God told me to get into coaching and I listened, and here we are today. Just like so many good feelings for him. And Bobby, he becomes now at 38 years old, 227 days. He is the third youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl, only behind Sean McVay and Mike Tomlin. And not only that, I believe he was the first defensive play caller head coach that won a Super Bowl. So things looking up for him. He's starting to be the guy that everybody looks to on the defensive side. Cody, at that coach, says the Eagles last year, Seahawks this year, if you can win with 4, you change the math on defense, you are probably going to win. Also, when Macdonald went with more than 4, he was a sniper with the blitz. There it is. Mike Donald, the first head coach who also calls defensive plays to win a Super Bowl. Just all around, just a trailblazer for what he does. He's the McVay of the defense at this point in time.
Yeah, now moving forward, obviously, Jesse Minter will try to follow and bring the Ravens organization back to national prominence, back to legitimate contending consideration. And there they are. These guys were on the same staff. We know that under John Harbaugh. And now both are going to be, and in Mike's case, he already has been for the last couple of years, but now both will be, respective leaders for their teams on opposite sides of the country. So it'll be a blast to watch all of this unfold. Look at Mike Mack as a Georgia grad assistant back in the day. I mean, come on, look at Mike Macdonald and how much of a baby face he has, and in some cases still has at 38. So there's a lot of this going around the internet, Sarah, that people just think there's this universal belief and respect within the sports media community, within the coaching community, within just the NFL community that Mike did it the right way. And it happened for him really, really quickly, all things considered. Like, this guy has risen the ranks quickly, but it's not a coincidence. He has humility, he has skill, he has leadership skills, obviously. And literally, you can't help but take him at his word that when one of his post-game interviews, one of the many that he did last night, was underway, he basically was like, and I'm paraphrasing, I wish we could continue on with the season. That's how much this group was together. That's how collective our group was. And I thought to myself, that is like the most Mike Macdonald answer ever. You just hoisted the Lombardi and you want to just let this thing continue. And it was pretty cool for those that maybe we have some Georgians in our audience. He and Maria Taylor, who of course was the on the podium last night for NBC, the main interviewer, the main host of that post-game platform, a significant platform at that. These two were classmates in high school at Centennial. So kind of a full circle moment there. Their next high school reunion, to be a fly on that wall when those guys come in there. But anyway, to your point, Sarah, Mike is just getting started. And obviously the Ravens hope that perhaps the next Mike Macdonald, someone that, yeah, they could have had, but perhaps the next one could be in their building at the helm of their organization.
Centennial High School's got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. But Bobby, that is the first lesson that the Ravens can take away. This is the first lesson right here, that Mike Macdonald is the archetype. He's the archetype that can inspire what Jesse Minter can become. I mean, it is crazy. They both kind of like coaching in their early days with the Ravens, both with John Harbaugh. They both, as they start moving up the chains in Baltimore, take a leap over to go to Michigan. They both become a Michigan defensive coordinator. Jesse Minter, however, is one that wins a national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. They both eventually come back into the NFL. And both as defensive coordinators at the NFL, they both have success as defensive coordinators at the NFL. And now they both become head coaches. And like I said, Mike Macdonald is the defensive archetype for what Sean McVay has been. When the Rams took McVay or signed him, made him the head coach, super young, it was not the trend at the time. It had happened before, but it became more trendy after McVay. And all owners were like, oh, I want to go find that guy. Even I have been, when we were going through the coaching hires, I was like, I kind of want the offensive, play caller. I want that. But here is Mike Macdonald. We're going to talk about Sam Darnold in a minute because he's inspiring too. But Mike Macdonald did this without a superstar quarterback. He had a comeback year, and we're going to give him his flowers in just a minute. But that was a defensive performance. That is what that was. Within 2 years, wherever Mike Macdonald goes, it seems like he's touched gold. And the same thing has happened with Jesse Minter, however, a little bit more because he won that national championship with Michigan as a defensive coordinator. Obviously, there's context to all of that and why they were better that year. But this is the inspiration. This is it. Not just that you can do it within 2 years, but that you can do it as a defensive coordinator, and you both have very similar philosophies. The Ravens can get this done because not only, and here's the thing, Jesse Minter has a leg up on Mike Macdonald because he does have a superstar quarterback. Mike Macdonald just did this without it. Jesse Minter can bring defense back to Baltimore, but also still have a Super Bowl quarterback. That's your inspiration. There's no reason that it can't be done and done quickly.
Yeah, speaking of the quarterback too, I use the word inspiration. Man, that's probably underestimating the guy, right? In terms of what he's done, since it's even more than an inspiration. In a lot of ways, it's improbable what he's just accomplished here because of what's happened since being drafted top 5, 3rd overall. He was the 3rd overall pick in Lamar's class year, in Josh's class year. Josh Allen, that is. Josh Rosen's no longer in the league, but he was a first-round pick that year as well. And, of course, Baker Mayfield went top overall. So, again, Sam really struggled, Sarah, as his entire team did in New York, the years that he spent there. Matter of fact, he went well below 500 as a starter, 13-25. He's traded to Carolina, essentially a cast-off, right? This guy's completely written off. He gets traded to Carolina. He then has a backup stint to Brock Purdy in San Francisco. You talk about humble pie. That's all he's eaten in recent years. Then Kevin O'Connell and company give him a chance in Minnesota last year. And what does he do? Helps the team. It's not just obviously I think, wins, in my opinion, wins are not solely a quarterback statistic, but he was a key piece in a 14-win regular season last year with the Vikings. What does that give him? They show him the door. We're going with J.J. McCarthy. Mike's like, okay, Mike Macdonald, that is. We're going to trade Geno Smith, and we're going to go and sign Sam Darnold. And here they are, not even a year later. He goes from, as The Athletic puts it here, from the number 3 overall pick to bust. And I'm sure he was called a lot of other things throughout the course of his time, Sarah. But now he is a Super Bowl champion. So, look, was this more about the defense? If we were to weight the scale, of course. But we're going to get to some statistics in just a bit that speak to the clean football that they, operationally wise, were able to accomplish, not just last night, but all throughout the postseason. And when you couple that with a defense that takes the ball away, this is exactly what winning football brings you in the month of January and into February. And now Seattle gets to enjoy that.
Sam Darnold, this to me is like, I've kind of mentioned this before. I think I mentioned it before at some point. He's yet, again, talking about inspiration. I think he's the example of what can happen with a fresh start for a quarterback. And right now, the story for Lamar Jackson's career has been phenomenal regular season quarterback, but falls apart in the playoffs. That's really a Ravens narrative that sometimes just solely gets put on Lamar's shoulders. But regardless, Sam Darnold had unfair labels too, of like a bust and, not going to amount to anything. And he did it without a backing of an organization. Like he went and became a backup through injuries and other things. It brought him to become the comeback player that he was last year with the Vikings, but they still didn't re-sign him. They still were like, we're going to take our chances with our first round pick. We're going to go take chances with him instead of re-signing you. And so that's what they do. And so he starts again with another team. You can't underestimate the importance of just a fresh start and just having the right combination of people around you. Lamar Jackson is already turning around his playoff narrative, where in his first 4 games, which was all under Greg Roman, he went 1-3 in the postseason, had a 55.9 completion percentage. That's not Lamar Jackson standards. 316.8 yards of total passing. That's actually too much, right, for the Ravens. That means you're playing from behind. Yards per pass, only 6.6. Touchdown to turnover ratio 4-7. Passer rating 68.3. This is of a quarterback who has one of the best all-time regular season quarterback ratings. But then you get a fresh start with Todd Monken, and you start winning more. You're now 2-2. You get closer to your completion percentage, 66.7. Closer to your normal yards per game, 281.8. That's 8.1 yards per pass. You have a touchdown to turnover ratio 9-4, passer rating that's more normal, 105.8. Still not Lamar numbers that we're used to in the regular season, but much better under a new offensive coordinator. Again, now we have a reset, not just with offensive coordinator, but a head coach too. For a head coach too. So you take the Sam Darnold lesson and say, hey, we're starting way ahead of where Sam Darnold was. But so that just means if Sam Darnold can turn it around in the right circumstances, you better believe Lamar Jackson can take it to another level too. That's, again, Jesse Minter has the inspiration of Mike Macdonald. Lamar Jackson has a little bit of inspiration from Sam Darnold and his reset.
I feel like you always need to, when you talk about the win-loss record too, postseason-wise, it's 3-5. But we both know that technically, and you could do this for a lot of quarterbacks, but technically he could be a 500 quarterback because he's got 2 first-round buys over his 8 years, right? So he could be 5-5 technically if we're being, very, very specific. But
and then what would it be with what we're talking about now? What would it be if he had as good of a turnover ratio both on defense and offense, what could he be?
It's the perfect segue because, again, complementary football was what Seattle showcased all throughout its postseason run. And what do I mean by that? And what were you just alluding to? They played a clean game operationally. They took care of the football, and that freaking defense was lights out. Look, 29-13 doesn't fully tell the story. Patriots were dominated last night. And really, as you watch the game unfold, I don't care if it's the feeling of it, the eye test of it, whatever. It never felt like it was out of Seattle's control the entire time. And how did they do it? Created turnovers, special teams, clean football. Those three things right there, as you can see here, during the playoffs was something that was representative of their run. 7 takeaways, 0 giveaways. They're the first Super Bowl champion to go the entire postseason. Granted, they had the bye, so it's one less game maybe than some others that were in that category. But they're the first without committing a turnover the entire postseason. So, look, it's super simple to rip off statistics like these. Easier said than done. Obviously difficult to execute. They did that. And Sam Darnold should be celebrated. And we are not taking anything away from him. But that collective group, Sarah, in all 3 phases were immaculate the entire way through.
When you compare that 7 takeaways to 0 giveaways, let's look at the turnover differential in the Lamar Jackson era in Baltimore. 15 turnovers. Just to be clear, that's not all Lamar. We're talking about all turnovers in the Lamar Jackson era. So that does include things like the Zay Flowers fumble at the goal line in the AFC Championship game, or Mark Andrews, punch out fumble. But it also does include Lamar's turnovers, both fumbles and turnovers. 15 turnovers to 2 takeaways, a negative 13 turnover differential. Like we talk about all the time, how the Ravens don't even look like themselves by the time they hit the playoffs. Well, that's for sure coaching when you forget about your run game 1,000%. But it's also this. It's also this turnover differential. Lamar Jackson had one of the best turnover differentials in NFL history last year, where he had 41, I think it was like 41 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Like, it was absurd. Absolutely absurd. Such clean football throughout 2024. And then once again, you get in and there's turnovers. Like, and it's the same thing. Like Derrick Henry being turnover prone in those first, 4 or 5 weeks where he was just fumbling left and right. And it's just like, that's not what Derrick Henry does. So when we talk about how the Ravens just don't even look like themselves, it's when they become mistake prone like this. Look what you can do with Sam Darnold, again, who, yes, I mean, for 2 years in a row has played way better than he had with the Jets, and he did it with 2 different organizations. So you give him his flowers, but you also say, hey, it's nice that Sam Darnold had help and he played clean football. So Lamar Jackson himself will need to play clean football along with all the other players on offense. But then the defense, hopefully Jesse Minter will bring takeaways back to the defense here in Baltimore, because again, that is a lesson learned. Even when you have a superstar quarterback, if you can protect him even more with a better turnover differential, you're going to go so much further than you have.
You can go so much further than where you start if you find the organizational structure and framework, if you're so lucky to have a chance to find that, like Sam has, right, in this second act, if you will, really third or fourth act. It wouldn't surprise me, Sarah, if this inspires other organizations out there to go and find that quarterback. Really, it can go any position, but specifically since we're talking quarterback, to go and find that cast off a Malik Willis, to go and find that Mac Jones and say, hey, we're going to give them another chance here. It didn't work out in their first stops in this league. There's context and reasons as to why that was the case, but we feel like we have the structure, the stability, and the vision. And it would not surprise me if those 2 names in the next year or so, I don't know if they're going to be playing for a Super Bowl, but it wouldn't surprise me if they get that chance like Sam got last year in Minnesota, and then, of course, goes to Seattle to win it all. Now, we mentioned all 3 phases, right? Special teams actually won the game last night, Sarah, in a lot of ways for the Seattle Seahawks. And Front Office Sports tweeted as to why that's the case. First, it starts with investment. They spend, the Seahawks do, more on their special teams than any other team in the NFL at $9.325 million. That's over $9 million solely dedicated and allocated in salary cap money for special teams. Their kicker, Jason Myers, scored over half the points. He was 5 for 5, including a long of 41. He made both of his extra points. He also was joined by his punter who got involved. He downed a punt inside the 5-yard line. And of course, yes, Seattle went on to win the Super Bowl. So as we both know, the last couple of years, the standard in Baltimore when it comes to special teams has been below expectation, below execution. And that phase of the game matters in all games. But obviously, when there's such razor-thin margin of error in the postseason, it only matters so much more, and Seattle got it done in that department tenfold last night.
And that brings us to our lesson learned for the Ravens. You got it. I hope the Ravens are correct. And it seems right that Steve Bisciotti went to the podium a couple weeks ago and said, and basically gave his public backing for Tyler Loop. He says he's resilient, and that he felt terrible for him, and that he's gonna be a great kicker. Maybe Tyler Loop falls in the same category that I'm talking about with Lamar Jackson, that you can always change the narrative with a fresh start. I don't know that this is going to be a fresh start with too much with Tyler Loop, like he's getting Randy Brown back. But my hope, though, is that you see this and you're like, man, if we had missed those field goals, we would not have had a comfortable ending to this. And one of two things needs to be happening here with Loop. Steve Bisciotti, Eric DeCosta, Randy Brown, they better be right in saying that Tyler Loop can bounce back or you bring in legit competition. Because this is what you need. You need all three phases, and you can't have another time where Lamar Jackson is playing phenomenal in the fourth quarter, bringing you back, takes you down the field, sets you up, and then you miss the game-winning field goal. It can't happen. It can't happen. So the Ravens better be right, or they should bring in competition, serious competition during this offseason.
Tell you what, I was definitely mindful last night going into the game of what might be asked of another rookie kicker. And that's on New England side of things, Andy Borregales, who we did some deep dives on study-wise leading into the draft last year, because both he and Tyler heard their names called as draft selections. And Andy wasn't really tested last night because the game was so far out of reach and New England needed to score, meaning score touchdowns. Field goals weren't going to cut it. They could have early on if they were going, eye for an eye with Seattle, but they weren't scoring. They were blanked in the first three. New England was blanked and shut out the first 3 quarters of the game. So once you get to the fourth quarter, obviously Andy, sorry, dude, like we can't use you. So that would have been a really interesting, case study, or at least a comparison game to be played had he been put in that pressure cooker type of situation.
Yeah.
With the season on the line, a potential Super Bowl on the line, much like Tyler found himself in at the end of the regular season.
Absolutely. So just a couple other notes, and we'll get to some quick hits from the Super Bowl. I think we've finished up the lessons there, but unless you have one from this, there's only a couple GMs to win a Super Bowl with the same team but a different head coach. So there's the Seahawks general manager, John Schneider. There's the Eagles general manager, who we all hear about frequently, Howie Roseman. And then it's former Ravens GM, Ozzie Newsome. But boy, oh boy, he may be former, but he is still in that building. He was a part of the head coaching selection process. I'm sure the offensive coordinator and everything else. Like his voice is still very loud inside the Ravens building.
Yeah, so there's no lesson learned. It's just, hey, be reminded that Ozzie's still involved. That's why I threw this in here. There's nothing to be learned here. You and I both know it's a reminder that he's involved with the organization and they're better for it. So this is a heck of a list, a short list at that. And wow, I mean, just a tip of the cap to the general manager John Schneider of the Seahawks, because Sarah, a lot of the contributions that they got last night were on the other side of the hall that Seattle received in dealing Russell Wilson several years ago. And that's what Andrew Mason, commented on here on X. So again, just kind of
Pretty
speaking
cool.
to, he made a big decision, right? Russ was the face of that franchise years ago. They won a Super Bowl with him. Was that more about the defense, much like last night with Sam Darnold? Yes, but Russ was an integral part of that community. He made a big, bold move. And years later, what he got in return ended up showing out for them last night.
Very cool. So should we get to super chats and an ad read?
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Monday. Over 1,600 concurrents and counting on what really, truly is the first full day of offseason. So with that, it's just a reminder, Sarah and I will be with you all offseason long as we get ready for the combine and the draft and free agency and everything else in between. And oh, by the way, we have a new giveaway for you. And it's a little different than Fanatics $100 gift cards. It is a $100 gift card, but it's not to Fanatics. I'll tell you about that in just a second. First, are you buying a home in Maryland? Are you thinking about buying a home in the state of Maryland? The Maryland Mortgage Program, aka MMP, offers powerful down payment assistance and grants to help you get there. This is all courtesy of our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, one of the longest standing sponsors that I've been working with for years, and they came out to support the Vault at the beginning of the football season. Here's what it gives you: up to $6,000 in down payment assistance, first and second time buyer options, help for employees, caregivers, and buyers with student loans. You can reach out to Primary to learn more today. You can give them a call directly, by the way, at 410-663-2222. You do not need to be in the Maryland area to work with them, but obviously for this specific read, and you want to qualify for MMP, you do have to be in Maryland to work with the Maryland Mortgage Program, obviously. But again, if you're in that area, if you're in Baltimore, if you're in Maryland, they got a branch right in Towson. Great people over there that are eager and ready to help. So again, 410-663-2222. And with that, partner, the new giveaway for February, how about this? There's a little personal tie-in here. And this was totally Zach and Primary's idea. It was not ours. All right. We were not that self-serving. Right. Here's what's going on. If you click right now on the link that we have in our show notes, if you're watching us in real time, it's a pinned comment in the live chat. The usual instructions apply. The difference is what you have up for grabs is a $100 gift card to the Vault's merch store. Our apparel line now has gift cards. So that's what's going down here, partner. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault. Tag 3 friends you'd buy a house with. Follow them on Instagram at PRMI Mid-Atlantic. You can subscribe to the Vault if you don't already on YouTube with your notifications on. If you want to go the extra mile, scan the QR code on the screen or copy and paste that Google form link into a search box. Fill it out, less than 30 seconds. If you win, we'll easily be able to reach you guys. So, yeah, that's what's going on this month, partner.
Love it. Love that we're teaming up with PRMI and getting some more Vault apparel out there. It's needed in this world.
I was going to say, and we probably don't tease it enough. And, of course, once the offseason gets around, you and I get to finally breathe for a half second. So, again, that's thevaultpod.com/shop is where you can check out our merch line all year round. But this month and the months coming up, we have a little incentive there for you. So we will announce that winner randomly at the end of the month, and best wishes. Hopefully you guys will enter in and participate. Sarah, that brings us to Super Chats. David Cool is celebrating 8 months of channel membership with us.
He says, I kept hearing their credit goes to coaching, believing, and communication, playing as one, hoping Mentor does the same for us. That was all the messaging Mentor had when he came in. Playing for each other, communication, collaboration, talking with players, building trust. And so we all know that's what's important. It's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to do it. Mike Macdonald has, Mentor has in the past, and now he'll get a chance to do it in Baltimore. Thanks,
David. Hopefully you and your daughter, Octavia, enjoying things. I believe you just brought a newborn in at some point within the last year as well. Dreams is celebrating 11 months of channel membership with us. And Quion writes, Mike Macdonald really won the same amount of playoff games in a single postseason run with Sam Darnold than Harbaugh did with Lamar Jackson in 8 seasons. I wish this was a joke.
Ugh.
Well, wait a second here. They won the divisional AFC champion. Wow. And then Lamar's 3-5. So yeah, if you don't count the first round buys, which they don't.
Yeah.
Dang, I didn't even
They
I had
for
to think
sure
about
would have
that for a
won
half second.
they for sure would have won a wild card game. But yeah, so it's 3 wins to 3 wins. Whoa.
I had to think about that for a second. Dreams, that's math that is tough to accept, right? Heather is celebrating 7 months of channel membership with us, and she says so happy for Mike Mack, which echoes our opening thoughts today. Thanks, Heather. And Dark Thunder 35's with us.
Says, thank you, Mike Macdonald, for completing the season from hell and vindicating the end of the bar. Ravens front office realized their mistake and are trying to right a wrong. Minter season is coming.
What's up, Robbie? It's a bittersweet Monday, he writes. Happy for the Seahawks, but darn, this could have been us if we promoted or kept Mike. Dreams is with us again.
Mike and LJ could have been a dynasty with this defense.
Oof. King Black 89, celebrating 8 months of channel membership. The way we get it done next season is investing in the trenches. Say it with me, y'all. Trenches, trenches, trenches. Hashtag vault. Hashtag attaboy, Mike. Hey, King, can we maybe can we write you down for what we feel like you think they should do at 14 in the first round? I think we both know. Will Shade's with us.
He says Minter's young staff has loads of firsthand and film study experience on the upcoming draft and the UDFA classes. I think that puts them ahead of the Seahawks. I believe Jesse Minter has hired 5 coaches from the college ranks. 5. Plus, obviously, he's been down to the college ranks recently with his national championship with Michigan. So this is correct. They should have a lot of firsthand experience with the guys in the upcoming class.
Yeah, if there's been one trend, Sarah, it's been that, in terms of some of his targets. Dream says Mike Macdonald in 2 years with Sam won a Super Bowl. Harbaugh in 8 years with Lamar won nothing. John with Mike Mack as his DC for 2 years with Lamar fell short in the title game. See the problem? Ravens kept the problem. Dreams is getting some stuff off his chest here on this Monday. And look who's in the live chat after I spent the whole week in San Francisco with him, Sarah.
He can't get enough of the vaults. Can't get enough. He says Sam Darnold for life. Is it because they're both gingers? Is that why he loves Sam Darnold so much? Is that
I'd have to think that that's twofold because Jake and every other Jet fan was led to believe that he was their savior in 2018, and then they basically hung him out to dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like so he's feeling
they did him a favor. Did they do him a favor actually?
Well, he may be feeling towards Darnold what we're feeling from Mike Macdonald.
Maybe.
Which is absolute jubilation. But our organization didn't take advantage of it. Our organizations.
Maybe.
So maybe it is 2-4. Anyway, so he says Sam Darnold for life, Bobby T by the Bay for life. I never did hear how your weekend went after the let's see, we logged off about 2:00 on Friday. You had a whole Saturday in San Francisco to be a tourist. How did that go?
I did. Well, Jake was, so first of all, Jake Asman, ladies and gentlemen, Jets YouTuber extraordinaire, friend of the program. Jake and I were bunkmates for the second half of the week. So we hung out on Friday night. He and I did a little sightseeing ourselves. Matter of fact, we took, Jake, I'd say this, right? One of the best, longest scooter rides of our lives to make it to Golden Hour at Golden Gate. It was electric. We were ripping through the city. We each spent $44 on a scooter. That's how long we were on it.
Wow.
And for those of you that are aware of like scooter prices and whatnot, typically when you're just bopping around the neighborhood, what is it? $5 to $15 to do something. We were on that thing for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have made it to the Golden. I know I'm going on a tangent. We'll save this for Quickets, but like Golden Gate at Golden Hour on the beach, a serene ending to what was an awesome week. So thanks to our pal for the super chat. I owe him. He keeps ripping us with $2 super chats. It's time for me to pay him back here at some point. Maybe I'll do that through hotel accommodations in Indianapolis.
Oh, there you go.
Punk Cowboy. What's up, Pop Punk? Will the success of teams with quarterbacks on team-friendly deals play a larger part going forward? Could EDC go into extension talks with Lamar thinking this? And everybody wants to think it. Everybody wants to do it, Sarah. It's another thing to have, the ability to actually pull that off.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to think that, but you can't. I don't think that's like the formula. I think coaches and organizations that are kind of stuck in that situation and can't find the next level kind of superstar quarterback, like then you have no other choice but to adjust, pay another guy with less money, and then just invest in a defense and like an offensive line and all around these quarterbacks. But for sure, the formula, it's still a quarterback driven league. And I think because Lamar was injured he was out for a month, probably injured for 2 months. Patrick Mahomes in a down year and was also injured. Joe Burrow was also injured. And then the Patriots were lucky that Bo Nix and the Broncos took out the Buffalo Bills, and then Bo Nix didn't even get to play the next week. And he's an up-and-coming quarterback that was drafted. So, no, you figure out how to keep Lamar Jackson long-term, try to get the cap hit down, keep your window alive, and so it's you can't go into Lamar Jackson being like, oh, with contract extensions with him, well, if it doesn't work out, oh well, I'll just go find the next Sam Darnold. That's not the strategy you go into these talks with. I don't know if that's what you're implying, but it felt like you were.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you look at the last, I'm not sure what the main point is here. I mean, look, last year, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia won it. Jalen got paid right around the time that Lamar did in 23. Prior to that, Mahomes went back-to-back with Kansas City. He got a ridiculous deal that over time has turned into be, yes, relatively team-friendly, but he's restructured it a ton of times, and so they were the previous winners. And then who won before Kansas City? It was, Stafford in L.A. Stafford had been traded for. You can go back to, then before the Rams, it was Brady's final hoorah in Tampa. So I guess the question is Sam's situation more of a lightning in a bottle type of thing, Sarah? We'll have to wait and see. But there hasn't been any recent trend of that in terms of Super Bowl champions, I guess is what I'm trying to point out here.
And I would have loved to see Mike Macdonald go up against a team that was a little bit more had some offensive firepower. Like I don't know what if the Bills or had gotten through, or what if Bo Nix never got hurt? Like I think they still would have had a phenomenal defense for sure, but I just wonder if it would have been as suffocating. Like I want to see, like I mean, I told my husband going into that game, I was like, I promise you, Patriots will not score 20 points. It'll be 20 or less. I could have gone even lower. And I said the Seahawks will win at least by a touchdown, if not more. Like we knew it going in. We knew how lucky that they had been. Like Drake May has been great, but not like go to the Super Bowl great. No, he and the Patriots had a lot of lucky things go their way. And so I would still like to test this theory of like a Super Bowl defense versus like a Super Bowl legit offense, and which one's really going to come out. The Patriots were not that. The Patriots were not that test.
They got dominated in the trenches last night. And, when we covered them on Sunday Night Football, the question was, are they legit or are they ahead of schedule? And I wasn't ready to answer that question full blown, but I wasn't ready to write them off that day. And here I am, I think a couple months later, Sarah, with the clear picture that I think is like crystal clear that they were just simply ahead of schedule. And there's a bunch of reasons as to why that was the case. To no fault of their own. They took what was given to them in a lot of ways. But the fact that they turned themselves around from a 4-13 team in year one with Vrabel, with a young quarterback who looked young throughout the entire postseason, gives you the sense that, they're ahead of schedule, and we'll see if they're able to sustain that moving forward.
We're going to see what they can do with a division winner schedule instead of a fourth place schedule. It's nowhere near going to come as easy to them. And something tells me that, I don't even feel bad predicting it now. I think they'll come in second next year in the AFC East, at least second, and they will be looking for a wild card spot because now the Bills are going to enjoy the better schedule, and the Patriots are going to be playing all the toughest teams across the NFL. And let's see, and then the tape is in on Drake May, and this is what we say about all rookie quarterbacks that do well. And then for Lamar Jackson, he excelled, went to another level. For some guys like CJ Stroud, not so much, So it's like, what can you do in that second year? I don't think that they're going to be another first. I don't think they're going to win the division again next year. I think they're going to have a much harder time.
Strength of schedule, no question. The story in the division will be, can Buffalo weather the storm of all the newness?
Mm-hmm. They're going to have a fresh start too. This is what's crazy is next year, the Ravens themselves are going to be on like their quote unquote revenge tour, but so is Patrick Mahomes, and so is Joe Burrow, and so is Josh Allen, because none of them had the year that they wanted to have. Josh Allen, while he played well in the regular season, he was a big reason for their loss in the playoffs with all those turnovers. Lamar's hurt. Joe Burrow was hurt. Patrick Mahomes was hurt. You don't think everybody's going to be coming back hungry? And Drake May and the Patriots are supposed to survive that? No, I'm not seeing it whatsoever.
Hungry and healthy, you would think, on paper.
Hopefully, especially in Baltimore.
And healthy. This is going to be fascinating. And you can't imagine another scenario playing out the way that it did this year without all the elites of the elites in the postseason picture. So we'll see if that happens back-to-back years. Board certified DJ says, when was the last time we had a real competition for a starter? Harbs had his guys, and that was it. Hopeful the new staff will emphasize competition. Just because publicly there wasn't a lot of competition, I'm sure DJ is referring to the guard positions in recent seasons. Doesn't necessarily mean, Sarah, behind closed doors and training camp and practices that there weren't full-fledged position battles. But I would think that DJ is referring to specifically here what I know something you were frustrated by in recent years at guard, and how a lot of shoe-in roles were seemingly gifted to the Aleles of the world.
At guard, and I also want an upcoming competition at kicker. But I would say, to answer his question, there was a real competition at inside linebacker next to Roquan Smith, and Teddy Buchanan got it over Trent Simpson, who I think he started as the favorite and ended up losing it to Teddy. Now, obviously, they still rotated a lot, but I'd say that was the latest competition.
Wide receiver is going to be interesting outside of Zay this upcoming year. Is Bateman still going to be on the team? What will they do in free agency and or the draft? Does Devontae Walker take a legitimate step and get an opportunity to increase his snap count and target share? That position is going to be really intriguing to me in 2026. Dreams writes, Seattle as a team had 7 sacks in the Super Bowl. Travis Jones had a team high 5 sacks on the season. Hope Minter can do the same. Till then, I wish that we kept Mike Macdonald. John is here with us celebrating 8 months.
Just wanted to say, hey, Bobby and Sarah, let's go off season. # let's go EDC.
What's up, John? Appreciate you. Happy off season to you as well. It's going to feel like anything. I'm predicting that this off season will feel anything but like an actual traditional off season. That's what I'm thinking so far here. Zahir writes, I'd like to throw out there that it is incredibly unlikely that Mike would have ever taken the job from Harbaugh, even if they offered. Let's just celebrate him and our new staff. No need to complain. Why do you think that, Zahir? Why? Meaning, had it been like a conversation of, hey, we would like you to be on staff for the next couple of years, and then like that I can see, because he might be like, there's no guarantee that I would become his successor, or how long would it take if Steve couldn't actually tell him at that moment, if this is what Zahir is sort of theorizing here. But why wouldn't he have taken it?
Like, I don't know if he's yeah, like, if they fired John Harbaugh and then they did the same coaching search, of course Mike Macdonald would want that, and of course they would have interviewed him for it, and of course he would have been a finalist and probably the finalist. Now, if he's talking about, like, a coaching in wait situation, which I heard some people kind of propose the way Eric DeCosta and Ozzie Newsome did it, where Steve Bisciotti paid Eric DeCosta like a GM when he wasn't a GM, and then Ozzie said in 5 years I'll step down. Do I think Mike would have waited for that? No. But if they just straight up fire John Harbaugh, what I think is unlikely is that they would fire John Harbaugh after going to the AFC Championship game, even though I believe that coaching was probably the biggest factor in losing that, second being the turnovers. But yeah, I mean, if they fire John, why would Mike be like, no, I'm not taking it? Mentor just did it, and Mentor started with John Harbaugh too. And John Harbaugh called him and said, I think they should choose you, So I think there'd be, for sure, he would have taken it.
And, by principle, just to piggyback off of what you said, I feel like we've said this a million times, but just to reiterate, by principle, to fire the head coach after getting to the game, the appearance that you hadn't been in the Lamar era, I'd say that'd be bold, and that would be putting it lightly. By principle, that actually might just be wrong, instead of, like not taking your chance to be like, wow, we were literally inches away in a lot of ways from playing for a Super Bowl. Let's go ahead and blow this entire thing up. That would have been pretty freaking bold of Steve.
Yeah.
So
could have happened, but you're right. It would have been like, how Tony Dungy was already being like, what are you doing? Who are you going to get against that's better? Like there were definitely people like that. It would have been a million times louder had he done it, but it doesn't matter because it wouldn't have mattered if Mike Mack had similar success here in Baltimore. And I just don't know why he couldn't have.
So here, appreciate you, man. Thanks for the super chat. Mary's here.
Mary says, can the free agents be traded before March 10th? Yes, but it's unlikely anybody's doing trading because they're like, why would I give you draft assets or something else when we both know you're not going to get a deal done and he's going to hit the market? And, I'll just say this. If you don't get your players signed either heading into the last year of their contract or during the season, especially guys that are coming off rookie deals, they're like, well, I waited 4 years to get here anyway. You've had me on the cheap for 4 years on my rookie deal. I've waited this long. Why would I not go see what the market can give me, especially if they have an agent that's calling around and has a pretty good idea of what you can make on the market? So a lot of these, because the agents talk, a lot of these general managers already know, dude, you haven't gotten a deal done. Like he's going to hit the market. I've got the cash. I don't need to give you draft picks. So theoretically you could, but nobody ever does.
And there's some key dates within that conversation, Sarah, that are coming up, including 1 month from today is when the legal tampering window kind of prior, the free agency prior, the pre-free agency, if you will, begins 1 month from today. And then free agency itself is March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be a busy week for you and I, as it always is, and maybe busier than last year, right? Maybe a little bit more hustle bustle than last year because you have some decisions to make. It was kind of cut and dry in a sense last year. So
very cut and dry. You have some cap casualty. Okay, here's the thing. We need to learn what happens with two big contracts, Marlon and Roquan, before going into free agency. Are you going to cut them? Are you going to try to get a pay cut? Are you going to try to extend them? We'll find out some stuff there and how they feel on those two before March 10th. We need to find out about Linderbaum before March 10th. I'm already resigned that Isaiah Likely is going to hit the free agent market. So those three things are probably going to be, and Lamar Jackson's obviously contract extension. I guess that's massive. Those four things are all things that we're going to be covering before March 10th. That Ravens are going to have to make a decision on.
I caught up with Isaiah for less than 30 seconds on Radio Row in one of those quick little exchanges last week. I forgot to tell you this. I tried to track him down, obviously, and he's a tough book. Let's just say it that way. Some of the Isaiahs, the KVNs of the world, they're getting pulled in so many different directions that they become difficult to to book. But anyway, I was just like, hey, good luck in free agency. And he kind of smiled and nodded, and where he could have been like, oh, he wouldn't have said I was coming back. Of course, he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
He's got to be tight-lipped.
Yeah.
So he was walking Radio Row, though, making his rounds. Dreams writes, the Seahawks have $75 million in cap space. They can trade for Myles Garrett if they want. They aren't going anywhere for a while. Dynasty incoming. Well, Sarah, no, Myles wants to stay in Cleveland, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cleveland isn't trading Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was demanding a trade last year at this time. And the Browns wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. And then they agreed to an extension. The Browns aren't trading him.
Alvin is with us.
And I don't think a dynasty is incoming because I think that the superstar quarterbacks are on their way back. So I'm happy for him, and I think he'll keep them in playoff Super Bowl contention, but I do not see a dynasty coming, no. Alvin says, let's not pretend like luck doesn't play a role for the Seahawks this year. A lot of things had to go right for them this year. I think that's every Super Bowl winner. Things have to bounce your way several times. And that happened in the Ravens Super Bowl year. It happened.
You could have this conversation.
Yeah.
You could have this conversation for hours. You could talk about health. You could talk about player contracts. You could talk about officiating. You could talk about weather. You could talk about schedule. I mean, we could be here for days if you want to talk about chances, analytics, luck. I think you said it best. It's involved and weaved into basically everything.
Right. Everything.
Pop Punk Cowboy says, more of the idea that Tom Brady took the team-friendly deals in New England and they went on a dynasty. This is a follow-up from his previous super chat. Maybe we get Lamar to accept a little less with an idea to invest in other big names. Y'all like the video. Pop Punk is recruiting likers to our video. And that's something that's true, Sarah. It's well documented that Tom took hometown discounts to give his front office, more wiggle room years back.
He did. I would like to look at how much less he took. Like, was he still in the top 5, top 3, and he could have been number 1? Is it? I need to go back and look at all that. And I hear what Pop Punk is saying here. And at the same time, I think we're past that. The Ravens have already said publicly that they're going to make him the highest paid quarterback again. Like Steve Bisciotti's like, let's just take the last quarterback, or let's just take the last contract. We'll bump up the yearly average and overall money, which is going to be number 1 again, quarterback money. Like, that is the route that they're going to be taking. They're not going to try to go like Lamar already knows this. All quarterbacks have heard this. Hey, go be like Tom Brady. So it's a nice thought, but it's rare. And I would really like to know how much Tom really saved him. How much money.
Appreciate you, Cowboy. Dre Dog is celebrating 11 months with us. He's been with us since the jump.
Oh, my bad. This is me. Okay. He says, yes, Mike Mack did his thing. Just remember, the energy wasted on complaints is energy stolen from progress. Their prototype has been put before the Ravens must utilize the knowledge and win a Super Bowl. I agree. I think you look back to learn lessons, but not to complain and not to resent it and not to be bitter and not to wallow in whine. You look at the past to learn your lessons and move forward. I think that's well said, Dre.
Dre Dog always dropping all kinds of wisdom. Appreciate you, brother. Don says the Super Bowl showed that re-signing Stout, meaning Jordan, who's set to hit free agency, should be a priority. And Don, I would agree with you on that front. He built himself into a, dare I say, all-pro talent this past year. Now, yeah, you got to stack seasons. I get that. But Sarah, he was a top 5, top 3 punter in most metrics this past season. Did a lot of field flipping. Is a reliable holder when it comes to the field goal operation, and somebody that they spent homegrown draft capital on. So for reasons that we watched unfold last night, for reasons of what we saw him develop into in recent seasons, Don and I are in agreement. And I would imagine, based on the price and things of that nature, that you would probably be in that camp as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's especially true for defensive-minded teams. Like, you need to be able to flip the field and keep guys away from field goal range. On offense, you can get away with it. If you have a good offense, you can get away with a lesser puncher a little bit more. But yes, I'm here for Stout. He's not going to be that expensive. I mean, you might pay him whatever. You could even pay him number one punter money, right? Like it's not going to put that big of a bash into your salary cap.
Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Monday, the first official start to off season. If you could like the video, everybody's wondering why I look so tired and I'm sick. I know I'm coughing. I'm coughing now. I don't know why. I'm not. I don't have a cough, but I am coughing and muting myself. Something my partner Jay-Z should probably learn if we're going to continue to do the collective. But if he's going to riz me, I'm going to riz him.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man. No. So
he acted like the mute button was above his pay grade. He's like, I don't know how to do this stuff. Like it's like technical. It's like just this huge microphone button. You just press off and on.
The guy cracks me up, and we're doing a collective tonight. We had the guys had a scheduling conflict for Tuesday, so we're gonna be on the collective.
Oh, you're not there tonight. Okay.
Spoiler alert, that'll be tonight. But my mother was kind enough to watch Tilly for me all week long, and she got a sinus infection 24 hours ago. So who knows what's going on in this small, cramped studio apartment here in the St. Pete area. But anyway, we appreciate you guys for being with us today. If you could like the video on your way in or out, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift giving membership. There's over 2,000 concurrents and counting. We'll get back to more super chats as they come in. But partner, why don't you lead us into our next topic at hand?
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the Super Bowl, Bobby, of course, as soon as it's over, we get Super Bowl odds for next year. And for the Ravens, it's looking right probably where we would expect, towards the top. They're number 4 based off of DraftKings. Jameson Hensley put this up. Seahawks number 1, then the Rams, then the Bills, then the Ravens. Now, of course, Bobby, if Vegas and the bettors out there are going to believe in the Ravens, it's for sure because they believe Lamar Jackson will be here next year. This right here, number 4, is solely because of Lamar Jackson. Because John Harbaugh is gone. Jesse Minter's new. It's hard to bet on somebody that's new. Again, hopefully he has the Mike Macdonald kind of trajectory here. But it's because of Lamar Jackson. The Ravens defense has been bad, all that kind of stuff. So Vegas believes Lamar will be back, but for some reason, the internet and some media, such as, I don't know, Mike Florio, keeps putting out ideas that maybe Lamar Jackson wants to be traded. Maybe the Ravens would trade him. And then when Mike Florio puts stuff like that, people start chirping. People start talking as if it was ever a real possibility. So for whatever reason it was needed, Mike Garafolo on the NFL Network went ahead and smacked that down, shut down talk like that, and said, guys, the Ravens are not trading Lamar Jackson.
Has begun. Could the Baltimore Ravens potentially trade Lamar Jackson? No, not feeling that. In fact, let's turn our attention to a potential contract extension. The Ravens have talked about this. It is a $74.5 million cap hit for Lamar Jackson this season. They've got to figure out a way to lower that, smooth that over, and also give themselves another window here to potentially compete with Lamar. I mentioned the trade talk or the trade speculation. Forget about that because Lamar Jackson was part of the head coaching process. He was on the virtual interviews with head coaching candidates. He was consulted for the offensive coordinator job, which went to Declan Doyle. Steve Bisciotti, the owner, loves him. Add all that up, and folks would be flabbergasted if the Ravens potentially moved on from Lamar Jackson.
Flabbergasted is the exact correct word. The only person that wouldn't be flabbergasted is Mike Florio. It is ludicrous that Mike Garafolo even has to get on camera and slap this idea down when clearly you just saw Steve Bisciotti a few weeks ago talk about his conversations with Lamar, talk about how he's being extended, talk about how he wants Lamar to be a part of the head coaching search. And we've all known through Jeff Zrebiec that Lamar has been a part of that via Zoom. We knew that. But then he's got to get on here and tell us Lamar Jackson was a part of the head coaching process. He was on the virtual interviews with head coach candidates. He was consulted for the offensive coordinator job. We already knew that here locally. but for some reason, it didn't want to be heard nationally. So Mike Garafolo doing the Lord's work and putting out the information. It's not happening. He was in on the head coaching hire, in on the offensive coordinator hire. And by the way, instead of a trade, they're going to enter into their contract negotiations.
The Lord's work is what your guy, I think, continues to do on the national level. Your guy, Steve Young.
That is
I mean, come on now. You with an all-time guest book pulled off years ago, the great Steve Young in what was one of our first true, legitimate A-list type of guests. And since that interview, Sarah, and probably before that interview, during it certainly, and now after, all Steve has ever done when given the opportunity to do so is celebrate and build up Lamar Jackson because he sees a lot of himself in the player that Lamar's become. And you pulled in a clip that started to circulate from what I believe was one of the many media obligations and different segments and outlets from Super Bowl 60 and all the build up and lead up to it. Had I seen Steve on Radio Row, rest assured I would have ran off the set to ensure that he comes on with us, and maybe that time will come again in the future. But here is Steve yet again celebrating Lamar.
It's harder. I'm going to say my main man, Lamar Jackson. I just think Lamar is capable of being the greatest player that ever lived. He just needs the right space and time to do it. And I hope that this next coaching change can really unlock all of it and that he can stay healthy. Of course, I love people who can run around. I was a weirdo in the old days because I run around and people make fun of me. And now it's the thing. It is the thing. And Lamar is special. So there's a lot of guys I could choose as well, but if you're going to force me those three. And if he doesn't want to talk about defensive backs in the pros, I just played in the AFC side. Pat Surtain, no. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah,
so just talking about, go ahead, Bobby,
Surtain's a total dog, but that was just an extension of what they were going into that next segment there. But did you notice who was on the panel? For the audio-only audience, Steve is sitting next to Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders. So kind of a who's who, much like the entire week was. It was a who's who all throughout Super Bowl 60. But Sarah, this dates back, again, years. And he said very similar language, right? Very similar sentiments there that he did here inside the vault. And that belief, that love for Lamar has continued years running now.
Just to get a little personal there, it is kind of crazy who's on set with Steve and Deion, like just these two absolute legends who I actually do have a personal connection with. Like, obviously, you already pointed out Steve, so much so that like he gave me a huge bear hug the last time I saw him at the Super Bowl. But then Deion Sanders and like our days going back to the Ravens and our spiritual connection and talking about, Jesus Christ in the middle of the Ravens hallways. In fact, I got to give a shout out to this. Do you see this Valentine's shirt I got on here today? John 3:16, for God so loved the world, but then has it spelling out Valentine's. It's all Valentine's shirts this week, by the way, Bobby, heading into Saturday, which you didn't even realize. What did I ask
you before the show?
You said, when is Valentine's Day? You're like, Friday? I'm like, no, Saturday. So I love seeing Steve and Deion there, and I'm like, dang, I know those guys. But anyway.
We just got to figure out what your connection is to Jerry Rice, and you'll go a trifecta there.
I got to go trifecta. That's right. I got to figure this out. I got to start scheming now. Maybe we'll just like shoot our shot via Twitter like we did with Steve. Maybe that's what we'll do. Who knows? Who even knows? So anyway, yes. And I'm like, Steve Young was the guy in the Greg Roman years, along with Steve Smith, by the way, just so livid with the Ravens coaching staff and just being like, you want Lamar Jackson? You don't think Lamar Jackson can be a sophisticated passer? Well, they don't give him a chance to be a sophisticated passer. So then he was so happy when he came on, when we were talking to him. It was going into that Christmas night game against San Francisco, remember? And then Lamar balled out the whole month of December. They go on to the AFC Championship game. So Steve has always seen the potential. And now he's seen it with now another head coaching opportunity or new coaches. And he's just like, please unlock it. He said it. He goes, I think that Lamar Jackson is capable of being the greatest player ever. And that is what's inside of him. It's so right there. It's so right there. The way he dominates, the way the Ravens, when he's healthy, are like locks to be playoff contenders. The way, like, even against the Steelers after he'd been so injured, and he comes back, and in the fourth quarter, he's just leading this team. And it was Luke this time that like, if the Ravens coaching staff and his teammates can just not go crazy. Like, let's not forget who we are, coaches, in the playoffs. Hey, everybody, teammates and Lamar, let's stop turning the ball over. Like, let's just be who we can become. We know who we can become. We know it. And let's keep working it, because who we are is not who we can become. Steve sees it. There's no doubt Lamar has that within him. Let's just go unlock it. And I love that he has believed in Lamar from the beginning. And even after last season, when people are talking about, trade, does he really want to be there? Does he really fight through his injuries? Like, Steve doesn't give any weight to that. And he's like, no, I still know he can be the greatest ever. Just unlock it.
Maybe one day he'll be sitting in this group right here. Steve posted a photo that was, I guess, taken by Jerry Rice or someone that had Jerry's phone, because he gave Jerry credit here, which is funny. But yeah, there's some legends in this picture for sure. A bunch of legends, matter of fact. And it looks like they were all hanging out at Super Bowl 60 in San Fran. So
yeah. And Bobby, I just wanted to pull this up, because as Garofalo said, just to kind of bring this full circle to what he was saying, that the Ravens are not trading him, and that they are going to go into contract negotiations. There is a little bit of a misunderstanding of how much money the Ravens can open up with a contract extension. So, for example, and these guys, it's all love, but this follower, sports sucks sometimes. True. He was under the impression that the Ravens could create $40 million with the Lamar extension. And Brian McFarland was like, no, that's pretty much impossible. And so he comes back. He's like, are you sure? Because Steve Bisciotti said that they want to get his contract number, his cap hit, to the same as last year, which is 22.15, and he's closer to 75. Brian clears up the miscommunication or the clarification. He says, but 22.5 million of that 75 is already prior bonus proration, so they can't touch that. So Brian said any change must come from his $52 million salary cap. So what he's saying is the most the Ravens could create is 30 million, not 40. He says 30 is the max. It's still substantial, but nowhere near 40. So I've seen a lot of people say 40 million, 40 million, 40 million. The max is 30 million, and maybe they try to come in closer to like 25. I don't know, but that's your max. I just wanted to clear up a misconception that a lot of people have had.
You and I have already mentioned a couple times that we're probably only, a week or so removed, or a couple weeks. We'll nail down a date that we can have Brian on and kind of do a comprehensive pre-free agency breakdown, if you will, because he's the best of the best, and look forward to that coming up in the near future. There were several staff hires and reports made since the last time you and I were live on Friday, and so we can cycle through those to kind of close out today's show. And to no one's surprise, it looks like indeed Jesse will be joined by his father, Rick, who's got close to 50 years of coaching experience. That's Rick Minter. He was a senior analyst for the Chargers over the last couple of years. And according to Wacker, looks like there's going to have a similar role with the Ravens. So father-son coming to Baltimore, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So we kind of knew that he would. We just didn't know in what role. And Brian's basically saying the same one he had in LA, a senior analyst. So just working and probably doing whatever his son needs him to do. Meanwhile,
can I just reiterate, that is really cool. Like, that is really, really, really cool. That, and sure, it's not a heavy lift or whatever for an organization. I get that. But just think about that. He gets to bring his father with him, who was his biggest inspiration to get into this business.
Yeah.
Who was on his staff to begin his career.
Yeah.
And now it's all full circle and they're starting over. I just, like, That is so freaking cool. So
it's irreplaceable. It's irreplaceable. I remember my dad worked with his dad, my grandpa. They were real estate realtors, but my dad worked with them for years, and they had such a tight bond. And then when his dad did pass, he had so many memories, so many moments, both as a child and as an adult. Like, not everybody gets to have that. So yeah, I'm super happy for them. Yeah. Meanwhile, it was reported that Duke defensive ends coach Harlan Bauer, he's agreed to become the Ravens outside linebackers coach. So he had been with Duke since 2022 and coached the All-ACC defensive ends Vincent Anthony Jr. and Wesley Williams in 2025. And Aeneas Peebles, he likes the hire. He quote retweeted that news in all caps, Big Bauer. So that's one of the five, I think. Who is this? Yeah, I think one of the 5 collegiate coaches now that Jesse Minter has signed on his staff.
Big Bauer. Okay, Fub. Come on now. By the way, there was some overlap here if you're wondering potentially how this could have come to fruition. No idea if this connection is legitimate enough to explain it. But Bauer, I believe, was with Santucci, meaning the Ravens inside linebackers coach Tyler Santucci earlier on in their career. So again, who knows how all of this works out? There's no immediate ties, obviously, from like a resume standpoint and their past stops to Jesse. But you just never know how the coaching community kind of comes together here. But to your point, Sarah, that trend is ongoing and maybe is not over yet. They still have a couple more positions that they need to solidify. So we'll see what direction he goes in, for example, from a special team standpoint.
Yeah, and that Santucci connection was at Texas A&M in 2021. So, but he also has ties to let's see. He also has ties to Brian Kelly and Chargers defensive line coach Mike Easton.
Okay.
Elston. Man, I really need to put on my glasses.
And elsewhere.
Elston. Go ahead.
Yep, Mike Elston. Okay. Matt Zenitz has been on a lot of these moves from college to either from college ranks to the NFL, or in this case, NFL to NFL. So Ravens are expected to hire Chargers offensive pass game coordinator Marcus Brady. So again, it's not been as many would have predicted. This has not been the case. There has not been a ton of poached members of Jim Harbaugh's staff, which you could see why. Like you and I have said, you think Jim and Joe, meaning Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz, take this, take him, take it. No, they're gonna have to be, pretty preferential about that and stiff in some cases. But in this case, offensive pass game coordinator Marcus Brady is joining the Ravens with Jesse. Worked for the Chargers the last couple of years. Prior to that, he was an offensive coordinator with the Colts and a senior offensive assistant with the Eagles. He's been around the league for a while, Sarah.
Yes, he has. And then, if I can get this slide to turn, another reported hire again from Matt Zenitz. The Ravens are expected to hire Broncos pass game specialist Zach Grossi as the tight ends coach. So another guy coming over from Sean Payton tree.
Yeah, and this was the spot that he's vacating George Gottsley's position, and George got an opportunity to work. He just went to Georgia Tech to be their offensive coordinator. He was the tight ends coach in Baltimore for the last several years. So we know the importance of that position in Baltimore. So
absolutely,
this is a significant hire, and I think, Sarah, it goes without saying, we're learning, as all you guys are, about a lot of these guys, right? And so it'll be fun to do deep dives as OTAs begin and they're put in front of the media and press conferences are had. And then in the months ahead, Sarah, we can do our part to try and reach out to folks that are familiar with some of Jesse's staff, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of newness here.
Yeah, so I think that leaves us to the coaches that still need to be filled. You got wide receiver coach, obviously your special teams coordinator, and then another assistant special teams guy to go along with Randy Brown.
Yep.
So that's what you basically need: special teams coordinator, wide receiver coach.
Yep. and then you threw this in here from Lou Esposito, who's going to be the defensive line coach. He was just kind of, acknowledging the opportunity, saying thanks to the folks that he was involved with in Ann Arbor, at Michigan. So, some of these are obvious. Like, there may not be overlap with all of these guys, but clearly Jesse had a great stint, a successful stint at that in Michigan. And so Lou Esposito comes to Baltimore to be the defensive line coach. That likely says that Joe Cullen's going to stay in Kansas City. He, I don't know why he'd leave, because he's the defensive line coach under Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. And remember, he was the first defensive coordinator interview that the Ravens conducted. And he had been in Baltimore as the defensive line coach prior to 2022 when he left to go to Kansas City. So Lou's fired up about the opportunity. I believe we had a slide in the beginning as well from another member, and that was just another one of Lou. So we're caught up on the staff-wise. Any other staff? Oh, and just because of the coordinator stuff, Cliff Kingsbury, being that he was a candidate for the Ravens, just so everyone knows, Cliff is I mean, look, in a lot of ways, he was frozen out of this cycle, Sarah. Matter of fact, he was frozen out of this cycle.
His agents tried, Bobby, because Diana Rossini knew for a fact that Lamar Jackson would like to work with him.
Look, Diana Rossini's report was,
which may be true. Maybe Lamar would have been fine to work with him.
I was going to say.
The way it was said made it seem like something was imminent. You know what I mean?
I think we had a good read on that day.
Yeah.
Our interpretation of that, I think, was fair. I think that was agent speak, to your point. Diana has DC connections. Cliff just spent his last 2 years in DC. But let's be honest, with a lot of these hires, and there were 10 vacancies, 10 all across the league. A lot of those vacancies were filled by offensive coaches, meaning the Clint Kubiaks, the Mike LaFleurs, et cetera, they're going to call the show. So that minimized the potential opportunity out there for a guy like Cliff, because he's not going to go and take a lesser role as a former head coach or a former, coordinator. But guess what? He is going to go do that. And he's going to work with Sean McVay, who calls the show in Los Angeles. And hey, if it works out in Cliff's favor, Sarah, this time next year, much like Shieldhouse and Shula, even though both those guys are likely going to remain on Sean's staff, they were highly sought after this news cycle. This hiring cycle. So maybe a year from now, if the Rams continue the success, because Stafford's running it back, he said that at NFL Honors last week. He's not retiring. Maybe Cliff finds himself in that category, like Shula and Shieldhouse did over the last month or so.
All right, so let's get to one super chat here, and we'll switch over to quick hits, and we'll get out of here. But Pop Punk Cowboy is back. Talking a little bit more about. I wondered how much Tom Brady, how friendly his deals were. I asked if they were still in the top 5. So Pop Punk Cowboy is saying his contracts with the Pats in 2005, he was number 6. In 13, he was number 5. In 16, he was number 18, and then in 19, he was number 11 and then with the Bucks, he was number 5. Following that would save us like $5 million, so that's on me. I would also say though, like when he took those, was that at the first year of his new contracts? So for like example, Lamar Jackson, let's just look this up real quick. Lamar, let's see, highest paid quarterbacks is what we're looking at. Lamar Jackson was at one time number 1, but I think he might be closer to like 8 or 9 right now. You know what I mean?
AAV, right?
In like I guess that's what I'm asking. He's saying his contracts. So you're talking about their cap hits? Yeah. Are you talking about their average yearly stuff? You know what I mean? Like unless you're the latest, you're maybe number 1 for like a second. So right now, Lamar Jackson's at contract average is number 10 in the league. But 2 years ago, he was number 1 for like a couple weeks. Like, I can't remember who got a contract right after him. Or actually, was it Dak Prescott? Maybe, I can't remember how it all went down. So you can like cherry pick these rankings, but like what did Tom Brady get when he had just made a new deal? That's more my question. Because
Appreciate you, Cowboy.
yeah. You get what I was saying, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Made sense. Okay.
Yeah, you're like, yes, the statement is true. He took less in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But like, okay, what's the significance of the timing, the new money, the AAV, all that,
Right.
and where did it stack up against his peers?
Right.
And quite honestly, I don't have that ready for you.
Yeah. I do appreciate that at Pop Cowboy is attempting to get this information for us.
This is the third super chat that
Yeah.
Pop Punk
Yeah,
has hit
all
us
on
with,
this topic. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Love
Yeah,
that.
we very much
context
appreciate
is
you.
given.
Yeah.
Got another super chat as well. Kobe, what's up, KP? Bobby, do you feel like Hollywood was trying to convey that the team didn't believe in Lamar and they weren't to invest in the offense or change offensive coordinator? Not sure what the second half of that question is, but no, I don't think that's what he was trying to convey, the first part. Meaning, my interpretation, as you and I sort of discussed at the end of last week, in my one-on-one with Marquise, is there were some both in and out of the building that prior to Lamar truly setting the NFL world on fire, believed that the way that they were built schematically, personnel-wise, and operationally on offense was due to Lamar's limited skill set. Hollywood felt like that was a belief by some in the building, which was the headline part, and out of the building. Now, do I say that that's like when you say the team, that just makes me feel like that's a broad statement when Marquise literally said some in the building. So I can't go as far as to say that the team, there was a lack of belief, Sarah, but clearly there was at least some in the building that felt like they were so narrowly built based on Lamar's skill set. And that's why I think, I use the word, you must have been pretty darn validated when not only he had the success under Greg Roman's offense and his tutelage, but then when Monken comes and blows the whole thing up, and I get it, some of the pulling concepts and the run principles were left behind and carried over. But to Marquise's point, guy can play in any system, and he's proven that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like he's asking this vaguely. If he asked, like Kobe, if you had asked, did the team believe in Lamar as a passing quarterback? Like I wonder for a minute, because partially they just loved this idea that they were going to be revolutionary. Like John got on NFL Network and he's like, we're going to have a revolutionary offense. And then they were in 2019 in some senses because they were historically great rushing offense. And Lamar was the engine behind all that. Obviously you had Mark Ingram and other guys, but like Lamar was the key to all of that. And so I think they were so interested in being revolutionary that I don't even know that they were like looking to expand. And then maybe once they were, Greg Roman wasn't that guy to do it. So I think Marquise is like, what do you mean that, like, because the coaches were getting so much credit because so many people believed that Lamar wasn't an NFL quarterback during the draft process. So many people. And then so they for sure believed, oh, look at the genius of John Harbaugh and Greg Roman, because we didn't think that he was going to be able to succeed like this in the NFL, but they're making it work. So the credit went to John and Greg because they already didn't believe in Lamar. So I think John took a year too long to move on from Greg Roman and then bring in somebody like Todd Monken for sure. But then obviously John did believe because they went out and got Todd Monken and did more of a more passing concepts, which Steve Young praised, who we just talked about in the last segment. So I don't know if it was like a lack of belief or just being so enthralled with this idea of being revolutionary. And then it took too long to switch over to Evolve.
They were absolutely enamored by that idea.
Enamored.
There is no question about it. But to your point, 2019 was pretty darn revolutionary. What they accomplished in 2019 and 2020, I get it, all for naught, and the not a lot of postseason success to go along with it at all. I get all that. They mowed down competition those years. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was so much fun to watch. Like every time the Ravens ran on first down, it was like for like 8 to 10 yards, like every single time. It's like nobody could stop them
Lamar,
whatsoever.
the amount of daylight that Lamar would create for himself was just, it was absurd that year.
You had Marshall Yonda blocking up there. Was Ronnie Stanley? Was that before Ronnie
Yes,
Stanley got paid?
that was one of
Yes.
the greatest left tackle seasons in recent memory. Okay. Ronnie had a historic, that's the reason why he was paid. His 2019
All
season
pro.
at left tackle was
Yes.
all pro and then some. Okay. You
Mhm.
had a young baby Zeus on the opposite side. Okay.
Oh,
Saw
that's
Orlando.
right.
Had a
You
chance to
had
catch up with him.
Orlando.
It was great to see him in Radio Row. He is a towering giant. Okay. You had Marshall Yonda, who decided to hang it up at his best, arguably one of his best seasons ever. And he decides to hang it up because that's what GOATs do. I guess some do, others don't. But Marshall decided to retire when he was at his best.
You had Bradley Bozeman, who went on and got paid after that year. Got paid at left guard. And he just kept getting paid from different teams after he left the Ravens. Like he was a legit starter. He wasn't, I don't think he was a Pro Bowler that year, was he? There were so many Pro Bowlers. No, he wasn't. And then you had Matt Skura at center.
Yeah. Yep. Kobe, by the way, with the
Give
second
me that
super chat
level again for Lamar Jackson, please.
here. KP,
of an offensive line.
KP was just following up on something he said and started this conversation a few minutes ago. I wonder if Harbs thought he was limited and thought Giro was the best for him, knowing he had a limited pass game. Harbs chose his friend over change.
Yeah, I think that first part is definitely true. That maybe Harbs thought he was limited, but could be historically good with a run first offense. Now, in terms of choosing his friend over change, I just sometimes wonder, like, and I love John Harbaugh, and you need to be persistent. There's so many people that criticize you nonstop, but it's kind of like Daniel Fa'alele. Like Daniel wasn't his friend. Is he choosing friends, or is he just choosing like, is he just stuck on his ideas for a year too long? I don't know I don't know.
Adaptation is something that John's praised for as a leader and personality and over his 18 years, right? But
Yeah.
from a hiring standpoint, especially in recent years, I think that could probably be referred to as one of his shortcomings.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Orr.
Adaptation.
Yeah.
So, look, Lamar was he was raw earlier on in his career too. You got to remember that. Outside the numbers and as a passer, KP, that was an area of weakness for him at the beginning of his career. So that was
Bobby,
a part of this as well.
I was still covering the team when he first got there.
Yeah.
So I watched Lamar at practice in like the rookie mini camp and the OTAs and training camp. And it was a little scary at first because he even talked about it, how like the NFL ball is different from the college ball. And he would be like, yeah, I'm throwing ducks everywhere. And so he'd be like competing with Joe Flacco. I remember going out there and being like, oh, there's no chance he's going to be ready in time for like week 1. And so like, I mean, I can't even tell you, like the balls were wobbly. It wasn't getting where it wanted to be. And so I don't know if that was making the Ravens like nervous or whatever. And obviously you still had Joe Flacco there. So the plan was never to start him week 1 anyway. But then once he just came in and they ripped off 6 wins in a row and they were barely above 500 with Joe, like Lamar just yanked that starting job from him. And he's like, watch this, So if Harbs said he was limited, even Lamar was like, yeah, I'm throwing ducks out here. So
and he'd be the first to tell you. And he told the story when he faced Joe one of these last couple of years when they've played, whatever team Joe's been on. What team has he not been on in recent years? But they've played Joe a couple times these last few years. And I remember one specific press conference that Lamar was asked about early memories of that 2018 year, and Lamar was like, I was enamored by his arm strength. Joe can throw it a mile and still can. And I'm not saying that Lamar doesn't have a strong arm, but Joe's on a different level, and I should say, back then he was on a different level, and Lamar talked about that in one of his recent press conferences.
Yeah.
So you had arm strength, a part of that as well.
And it's true
as
though,
the
like
live chat
Lamar's
just
arm
pointed out,
strength is. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Bobby. I'm sorry.
well, I was just going to say, as the live chat pointed out, we're talking about 2018. What did he do the next year? Led the league in passing touchdowns.
Right.
So clearly, part of this is, yes, there was development to be had, and also scheme-driven work, run-first offense approach, right? Everything goes hand in hand. Bottom line is, he's built himself into a guy that can beat you in every single way on the field.
Absolutely. And his arm strength is underrated because Lamar is like a flick of a wrist kind of guy, and like the ball goes flying. It's like, how is that even possible? But I will say this, Bobby, because of that, again, I do remember watching him come out and I'm like, oh, okay, he's got some things to work on, right?
Yeah.
But then to actually see with my own eyes for him to go from that as super raw to like winning all those games his rookie year and then seeing what he did in 2019, like that is why I go so hard for Lamar. One of the reasons why I go so hard for him and why I don't doubt that he can't keep progressing. Cause I not only saw that improvement his rookie year, and then all of a sudden his second year, he's an MVP. But then to go from that into an MVP running first and then to do it passing first in 2023. And it's like people have this narrative that he doesn't work hard or like he goes in the offseason and chills. And it's all just because he's an introvert. That's really what it is. Because the way he just continues to progress. And that's why, again, I went so hard again when I was talking about with Sam Darnold and just having a fresh start. Like, don't doubt Lamar's ability, as good as he already is as a raw talent. Don't doubt his ability to continue to evolve and get better. I've seen it with my own eyes happen lightning fast.
Appreciate you, KP. It's definitely inspired a great conversation and a walk down memory lane too, because it's hard to believe, Sarah, you've been gone from the organization that long, going all the way back to his freaking rookie year. Kobe with another one, and KP, you inspired all this. Macdonald fired his offensive coordinator quickly, and it paid off, which is true. He let Ryan Grubb go after 1 year and then hired Clint Kubiak. How'd that work out for Clint? Well, he confirmed to Stacey Dales last night of NFL Network, the worst kept secret, that he is going to go to Vegas to be the Raiders' next head coach. Thanks, KP. Pop Punk Cowboy was just noting one more extension of his super chat, and he said, I believe it was cap hit average. I closed the tabs, just to clarify, Sarah, what he was referencing a couple minutes ago that you took us through. And that brings us
to not how much somebody's paid, it's how they structure it. So anyway, go.
Yep, and that brings us to some happy news here for Steph and family, it looks like, for you.
What did she say? Baby boy born today via C-section and pushing for more than 3 hours, but mama and baby are doing well, and he is so loved. Just had to come on here and share. That's awesome. What's baby boy's name? Glad mom's doing well. C-sections, man, that recovery is no joke. It's a different level than just natural birth. So
I was one.
Woof.
Yeah. I know I was one. Mom's told me about that over the years.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep, I was one. And gosh, if she were here, I would confirm out of the 4 how many. But I'm sure she probably doesn't even want to talk about that. But Steph, congratulations. I believe this is your first grandson. So, and then, Sarah, like Sarah said, here we go. Alexander Jamison Garrido. All right.
Oh, I love it.
Alex, welcome to this world, my man. The newest Ravens fan just popped up, I'm sure. Steph, I know you're absolutely thinking of your late husband today for sure, and he's with you in spirit, and glad to hear everybody's healthy and happy. Congratulations.
Well said.
C-section comments are hysterical.
Dark
Thunder 35 for you.
Dark Thunder says the end of the bar, and the quote, "We don't scheme wide receivers open" comments made me realize that Harbs didn't have it anymore.
And KP says LJ has Vic Flick arm strength. Looks effortless.
Vic Flick, I like it.
Mike was walking Radio Row, unsurprisingly. He was sitting down with Cam Newton at one point. I'm still amazed by Cam Newton, just his stature. When you see him in person, it's one of the most shockingly like room in your presence type of like, what?
Yeah.
How is that guy built like he is?
Yeah, and play quarterback. And like not this Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl before, you had a long conversation with him, right? You went to one of his parties?
Yeah, I ended up in his Super Bowl party. Yeah, he was great to chat with. And I was the one that told him that Lamar got snubbed. Well, meaning I just saw it on my phone and I was just like, hey, Lamar was just snubbed from
MVP.
the MVP, and he was like distraught about it. So because obviously
glad I wasn't the only one. Me and Cam.
Yeah. There's obviously he's got an affinity for him. I know Lamar's got an affinity for Cam. So anyway, yeah, good stuff, guys. Thanks for the super chats, and let's finish up some quick hits here. And again, like we told you earlier on, we have our giveaway. So that $100 gift card to our merch line is now available. We will give that away randomly to one of you who participates coming up later this month. Click on the link that we have in the show notes. If you're watching in real time, it's pinned in our live chat. And Sarah, it's not too early to just start looking at some key dates that you and I will be watching closely and working through in the coming months ahead, beginning in just a couple weeks, less than a couple weeks. February 17th begins the franchise tag window. So who could the Ravens candidates be? Again, I don't know if there's any legitimate candidates, but Tyler Linderbaum would be one. Isaiah Likely would be one. But again, the legitimacy of their candidacy is up for question. That window runs through the 3rd of March. February 23rd from the 2nd is the NFL Combine. Looking forward to being out there for the 2nd straight year, Sarah, having a presence for us and bringing us a ton of content from Indianapolis. March 9th through the 11th, like I referenced earlier on in the show, is the legal tampering pre-free agency, if you will. And then the 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern is when free agency officially begins. Now, as you know, Sarah, the days leading up to that, you're going to learn a lot, and then it becomes official once the 11th at 4 comes around. So we'll be watching that closely. It's going to be a busy one for the Ravens. And, of course, you and I, just one night we will be a part of together of draft coverage on April 23rd is a Thursday. I am the best man in my college roommate's wedding on day 2, which is a Friday. And then obviously the Ravens have like 8 picks or whatever it is on Saturday, the 25th. So you and I will figure things out logistically. I am already kicking myself about this, but I've known about it months in advance. And obviously can't miss that weekend, Sarah. So you and I will have coverage on opening night for sure together, and then we'll figure out the rest later.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. It's always a rough weekend. I had my 4th baby on draft weekend, and so every time it's her birthday, like literally on the draft. So it's always a rough one to work around. So now we've got extra obstacles to get around, but we'll figure it out. But Bobby, I was just reminiscing about, like, I was looking at the legal tampering window, the 9th through 11th and March 11th, and I was like, last year was so much fun. Was it last year or a couple years ago? It was the year that the Ravens signed Derrick Henry, because all the news kept 2 years ago that like the news kept coming down in the middle of our live show. Yeah. And like when in free agency, so much comes down in the noon hour. I so hope that happens again. I just want to have a blast live.
One of the first times that you and I were like, you think this live stuff's going to work?
Yeah. That is what made us start to go live, was that free agency period.
Think about it.
We kept up with that.
March of 2026, next month, we will have been live in this formatting for 2 years. And it changed our lives in a lot of ways. It made this more sustainable. It allowed us to be more interactive with you guys. It allowed you guys to be more interactive with us. Mm-hmm. And that'll be 2 years next month. Prior to that, we were a morning show. Yeah. We would do all of our prep and production the night before. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just was not. Can you believe we were doing that for so long?
It's crazy.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. This is definitely a better format for us.
Yeah.
More quick hits here. Upcoming Super Bowl host sites in 2027. We got Los Angeles, 2028 Atlanta, 2029 Las Vegas, reportedly.
Yeah. Yeah. SoFi will get another one, right? I believe SoFi was Rams Bengals a few years ago. So LA West Coast gets another one. Definitely interesting being on West Coast time when your whole operation is on East Coast time. You know, it's definitely a strange feeling, but these are some cool sites. Big cities obviously are always a priority that can hold and have the capacity to handle an event like this. And man, I got to nerd out for a second. My broadcasting interests were piqued when I saw this last night. Mike Tirico, who I've always considered to be one of my mentors. I overlapped with him during my time at NBC. We worked in Olympics together. I just think the world of him, Sarah, as a play-by-play broadcaster and somebody who is extremely multiverse and talented. Alyssa Lang, who is also in media and a broadcaster herself, noted that an NBC put this photo up, NBC PR, that after calling the Super Bowl, he immediately transitioned to Winter Olympics coverage going on from Milan, Italy, for those of you that have been following along. So, yeah, I got to tip my cap to the GOAT in my money. I'm a big Mike Tirico fan.
You know what is difficult for me that would be really hard about that is, and I know everybody knows this, the names. How we can go from, like, for me to make sure I got all the names right for, like, the Super Bowl, I'd be, like, going through the rosters, saying their names out loud nonstop. Like, I know the football, I could do the stats, I could do all that, but the names would kill me.
They're
like,
tough.
all my time would going into that. Then you got to switch over to the Olympics, which I'm sure you know the names. It's way harder to learn the names. Like, at least in, like, you've been doing NFL, and so you're, like, familiar. But, like, Olympics, I'm sure you don't know all the skiers' names or all the luge players' names, or, like, you know what I mean? I don't know what he was covering, but it's, like, it's insane. Yep. You can just, like, rip names off so smoothly as if you've, like, covered them for years when you know you haven't,
Right.
because those type of sports don't make it on TV.
Not to mention, he hopped on a flight this morning out of Oakland, direct to Milan. So it's just
crazy.
It's a crazy life. I think he's one of the game's greats. And you know that I'll still always have a level of interest in pursuing whatever that might look like in the years ahead. What I spent the majority of my 20s chasing in that traditional media career pursuit. Maybe that time will come again in the future. But man, he is. I just love, I love that. I'm a sucker for that stuff. One more quick hit from Derrick Henry. You got this.
Oh, this is, I don't know if I should be annoyed or laugh or what, but some guy starts recording Derrick Henry while he's in the airport. Obviously, he's coming back from NFL. Again, I feel bad because it's like, yeah, respect his privacy. He doesn't want to be filmed, but, like, he's also giving great content because he's so ticked off about it. Like, just stop pointing your phone at me and recording. So, like, I'm trying not to laugh, but
no, listen, I'm gonna laugh for you. I'm gonna laugh for you because while this sucks, and I'm sure private life is just completely non-existent for these guys, like, I'm sorry, I have to laugh. This is funny. I just
wait, he stops dead in his tracks, and
I'd
be like, "Oh, sorry, let me put that away."
Oh my gosh. What is he? Does he have a mask? Like, what kind of mask does he have on? I can't quite tell if it's like a ski mask.
Is it blurred also? Is, like, there a logo on it that's blurred?
I don't know. And I also wonder, does he just fly on his own? Does he not have anyone? Yeah, I was going to say, Afia, you're right. He shouldn't be flying commercial if he doesn't want,
here's
to be
the
bothered.
thing, though. Like, obviously, these guys make a lot of money, but isn't, like, private jets like another level, though? Like, that's like, they're rich, but, like, jets are, like, rich.
Yeah.
Like more like billionaire kind of rich, like Steve Bisciotti.
You know what's funny? Do you call more attention to yourself when you wear that? Like, could you put a hat on maybe? Or, like, I get it. Derek is not exactly, easily hideable.
Oh, but, Evan says, how do you know this, Evan? Evan says that chartering one isn't that expensive. It's like $10K. Okay. So it's to own a private jet, you're right, is different from chartering one.
Yeah.
But do you have to, like, charter one? Do you have to, like, sign into an agreement, Evan, where you, like, charter it every so often per year? I need to know these things. I don't know why.
Yeah, I got nothing for you there. Nothing for you. But
I'm not even paying for, like, business class. I can't bring myself to do it.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that's funny, Derek. We're sorry.
Though if he you're right. If he didn't just like stop dead in his tracks and, like, was, like, staring at the guy and be like, "What are you doing?" Like, maybe it wouldn't have gone as viral. I don't know.
Always reminded when I get out to these NFL events how it can be hard to live your life. When you're Derrick Henry. Look, let's be honest. There's a lot of guys in the league based on just how you wear helmets for the majority of the time that you have airtime. There's a lot of people that can live normally as millionaire status,
Yeah.
in the NFL. Derek is not one of them. All quarterbacks, not one of them. It's that gets old after a while. Then again, he chose to go to the Super Bowl, right? You choose to be involved. He did a lot of promotion. I saw he was running multiple ads. He was all over San Fran. So in another breath, it's like, bro, dude, you kind of know what you're signing up for here,
Speaking of airport experiences, okay, I don't know why this is new to me and why I haven't looked into this before, but do you ever go into like the VIP rooms in like airports?
No, but my card, I always get
I was gonna
notices
say
about that.
Okay, so that's how. So I always just thought it was something that I had to pay for, or I had to like be loyal to a certain like airline, which I do think that gets you into. But a lot of credit cards get you in there. So when I was gone during the whole John Harbaugh firing, and I missed that whole week, and I was in Cabo, my friend through her credit card had access to it, and she was allowed to bring in a +1. So she took me back to this VIP room in the airport, and I'm like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, I had no clue that this even existed. Like I had no clue.
Yeah.
It's so nice back there. If you want to look for a place to like lay down and sleep, there's like food, there's like continental breakfasts or lunches, and like, or you can order food, and it's just such a nice, pleasant atmosphere. And I was like, what have I been doing with my whole life? I'll have like these huge layovers, and I'm like in these chairs in the airport where they put the bars there so you can't put your feet up or lean over. And I was like, all you got to do is get a certain credit card and get in there. Like it's, what am I doing my whole life?
It's when you start to dip your feet into the luxurious side of travel, there's a lot of newfound like realizations. I'm with you, Sarah. It's not something that I really, I'm going to get there with the literally down to the minute of how much time I need so that I'm not sitting at my gate for longer than I have to. That's classic me. And I thought I had done that perfectly yesterday. My cousin dropped me off at SFO, and then I get to the gate, grab a snack, 45-minute delay that ended up being 2 hours. So
exactly.
Anyway, but
yeah. Anyway.
All right. Let's get to some patrons here. Jason Zarotniak and Christopher Saxey. Appreciate you both for believing in what we're building. This is your monthly shout out because of the support that you guys give us consistently through Patreon. So thank you guys. Enjoy your off season. We got a lot of content coming up for you. And patreon.com/Ravens Vault Podcast is where you can learn more about what we're offering over there. Any other questions about the trip? Or you feel like you're pretty good?
Wait, so it's almost 2:00, so maybe we'll make this brief. But flights went well. Did you ever meet up with Sarah without an H?
No, schedules did not align. It was mostly on me, to be honest with you, because of how much time that I spent in the convention center. But she had her own set of conflicts. But we both were very cordial and said, "Hey, if you're ever in Colorado, and hey, if you're ever in Tampa area, let me know." And
which you could be in Colorado. Your sister lives there.
I was going to say she literally lives minutes away from Tori.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. And then Saturday, just to kind of wrap up the trip since I last chatted with you guys. I always try to extend. Sarah's no stranger to this. I always try to extend my trips when they're business wise trips because I was full throttle all week long, as you guys probably saw. And I really wanted to see San Francisco. And there's nothing worse than going to a city for the first time and realizing come your last day or second to last day, you've done nothing besides walk to and from the convention center and grab some dinners at night. Right. You're not even seeing the place.
Yeah.
So as promised, I covered 20,000 steps via foot on Saturday. I was all over the place. I went to Alcatraz. I went to the Ghirardelli district. I went to all throughout Chinatown. I went to a really cool overlook that saw the entire city called, of course, I'm going to forget it now. But yeah, I had an absolute blast on Saturday. And it was all by myself until I caught up with my cousin who lives in the outskirts of San Francisco because my hotel arrangement was over. So I crashed with him on Saturday night in a neighborhood called Sunset. And it was all San Francisco's cool. The place is huge. I mean, the whole layout. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's San Francisco.
Yep. Yep. The Bay Area is cool though, Sarah. It's a happening area for sure. And look, don't get me wrong. I saw some of the headlines out there. In some cases, yes, there are some serious cases of homelessness. There's a drug problem, no question. And a lot of that was in the area that I was staying in, Union Square. But to think that it's just overridden by that all throughout the city is inaccurate. And that's, I think, a little bit of a
lot of cities have that anyway.
Yeah. Oh my
and there's
gosh.
obviously different levels of it. It's been like over 20 years since I've been to San Francisco, so I couldn't comment on it. I just feel like all cities have that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you, of course, I always like to put together a little bit of and I have to do this, matter of fact, thanks to my awesome partner, Hotel Emblem in the Union Square area. But this was just sort of a quick, like 40-second snippet of the week that was, most of which was Radio Row content, the hotel that I stayed in. Here's Alcatraz. I mean, it was just a little bit of everything, covered a ton of ground. And if nothing else, Sarah, you come back just extremely energized, motivated, wanting to network, wanting to refine, wanting to attack this offseason in every aspect that I know you and I plan on doing. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody who followed along, and thanks to you for the support that you gave on the back end. From the comforts of your home last week, allowed me to, like we talked about, allowed me to go out and do what I do. So
it's a fun reel you got pulling up there. That's really cool.
Thanks.
And I love how you got the TikTok mic,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I actually borrowed that.
I was going to say, I didn't know you owned one of those. Doesn't surprise me you borrowed it.
Yeah, I borrowed that from a nice guy, Cole. He was one of Jake's interns. So hopefully make that investment here in the coming days for the combine and be ready to do it all over again in a couple of weeks. I fly out the week of the 23rd, and that'll be my second time working that event. Look forward to it. So
awesome.
So to start the week, 2 hours, which will not be that won't be a constant throughout the offseason, but we do begin the week that way. We appreciate you guys for hanging with us. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support. We hope that you enter yourself into this month's giveaway, which is a $100 gift card that can be used directly at our merch store. That's the Vault merch line. So for Sarah, I'm Bobby signing off. Should be a great week ahead. If you could like the video on your way out, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Sarah and I will be back, as we always are, at 12 noon Eastern on Tuesday, right here inside the Vault. Appreciate it.